Hello, my name is Martin and welcome back to another video.
Right, I'm James. Today we're in Marple and this is the River Goyt.
Yes, the River Goyt indeed. Back in the late 1790s, a gentleman named Samuel Oldknow decided to employ the River Goyt to turn water wheels at a huge mill he built just over here called Mellor Mill. So this week we're going to look at the remains of the mill, what's left of it, and some of the water tunnels that he built to turn those water wheels. And this week behind the camera we've got the usual crew. We've got Roy and we've got Liam. So about 1790 work commenced on the mill. Samuel Oldknow started building a big mill here. It was bankrolled apparently by Arkwright, who had a mill over in Manchester, just opposite the CIS building. Time Team did a programme there, so he must have had the money. Oldknow, very ambitious. He built a mill here. He had his eye on this land. He bought it. He built the mill. At the time when it was first built, it was one of the biggest mills in the world apparently. So you read, water powered. 1793 it opened. It was 210 feet long, 6 stories high. At its peak it employed 550 people in 1804. Okay, so as per usual, where are we this week on Google Earth? Okay, so there's Manchester and we're over here, just not far from Stockport, at a place called Marple. As we zoom in, there's Marple, and Mellor Mill will just come in now. There you go, that's where the mill stood, Oldknow's mill, and I'm going to show you these reservoirs here that fed the mill with water. Well, that's the sort of outline of the mill and where it stood. I'll just zoom in a bit more for you, bring it in. You can just make out the outline there of the mill. And we've done the opening scene over here, just on the River Goyt. You can just see it through the trees there. So there you go. There's Mellor Mill. Quite a grand structure it was, and it was built to look like a country house. That's how Samuel Oldknow wanted it to look. And here he is, here's Samuel Oldknow. Now apparently all these industrial sort of enterprises were designed to fund his lifestyle as a country gent, a farmer and a country gentleman. Don't know what he was like as a person, obviously, but I do sort of admire these Georgian early Industrial Revolution pioneers, as they kind of had less to work with. They didn't even have steam. I mean, I know Newcomen steam engines were in their infancy and stuff, and they were being developed, but it was even more reliant on manpower and just coming up to a river valley and going, right, we'll have a water powered mill here, get your shovels out, lads. Now, like I say, Samuel Oldknow decided to employ the River Goyt to power water wheels at the mill, and what he did was he built some rather large reservoirs for the time, because he had to take a feed off the Goyt, feed into these reservoirs that you can see here now, and then there were sluice gates that could be opened that let water through to power the water wheels down at the mill. So you can just see here the remains of the mill, and you can see these reservoirs, which later got named by the Victorians as the Roman Lakes. Now eventually Samuel Oldknow had a house built almost right next to the mill. We are literally right next to the mill site here. This is the remains of his Grand Lodge, and we're going to go down there and take a look around at what we can see. Right, so we're going to have a little walk down to what I've just shown you, and I'll show you this was part of Samuel Grand Lodge. This was part of Samuel Oldknow's Grand Lodge, and we're going into a basement area here. As you can see, we're going downhill, and this would have been apparently this was the servants' sitting quarters and a kind of a pantry and a kitchen area. I'll just show it you now. So I imagine if it's got a servants' quarters, it would have been quite a grand house. Don't know what that is. Interesting. Sewer. Water. But look at that, we've got a fireplace over there. Fantastic.
Who would live in a house like this?
Yeah.
Mr. Oldknow.
Now, rather interestingly here, it looks like there's another sub-basement and we don't know where it's going. So I'm going to turn the camera around, but you're going to go first into this. We don't know what it is, but like I say, it's attached to the servants' quarters, so another sub-basement. Let's take a look. I think it's torch time, don't you? Let's go down and take a look. Wow. Shit. Bit muddy. And that way we've got daylight again, so we'll take a look this way first. I wonder if this is sort of like a cellar area, if it was attached to the house. Interesting. And then this way here, we think, well, it goes back down to the river that way. Okay, so that's where we came in. So we're just going to take a look. Oh, look at that. Back there. That's all backfill, but it's not over till the fat lady sings. Look at that in there. That's going downwards. Goodness me, we'll take a look in there in a sec. But then if we go this way, what have we got down there? Look at that. Another backfilled, hold it still. Another backfilled area there, just come in. Roy's going to go through to that section there and take a look. But he needs to watch the false widow. Come down here, James. Right, plug it off, that spider. So I think this entire area is storage, coal storage. It was underneath the house. They seem to, all these little sort of chambers come to a little dead end. And then back outside on the surface, just where, opposite to where we went into that gate, is these cut-off stairs here, and I think that went down to those chambers. That's right above the chambers we've just been in, so I think that would have been another set of cellar steps down to the cold storage area. We brought Liam today. We've only brought him because so that James has someone his own age to play with, haven't we? Yeah. A boy your own age to talk about toys and games with. Okay, leaving the house over to the main mill site now. Samuel Oldknow would have come this way out of his lodge, across the little brook there, which is beautiful. Through the great big pillars, and over there was his mill. Okay, so nothing is left of the mill but for these remains on the ground. I'll try and show you most of them. This was buried over and was uncovered by a group of volunteers. There's a reason the mill did get pulled down. I'll tell you the story why it eventually fell and got pulled down in the end. But this was the remains of a spiral staircase at one end of the mill. And then as we walk onwards... So we're walking on now towards one of the wheel pits. This is where the Wellington wheel was situated apparently. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, here you go. Here's an overview of the wheel chamber. There it is. Water came in from the left. It was a 22-foot diameter wheel. It was called the Wellington wheel. Water in from the left. Not sure whether it was hit it on the top or hit it at the midpoint. Turned the wheel and it left via the arch. You can just see in the bottom right hand corner of the chamber. I'm going to show you some other views of this wheel chamber, which will be quite useful for you. So there'll be an access there probably to the wheel. I imagine this has been silted up quite a bit. If you look down there, it's quite wet. And the wheel would have turned. See the circular stonework there. would have turned, and down there is your tail race, where the water would have gone onwards, and it would have powered, it went onwards there and powered the Waterloo wheel. Water wasn't wasted. But it's fantastic, the remains of staircases. Yeah, an archway there. Looks like it's been covered in for a long time. It's done with stone, isn't it? And then obviously we've got more here. The place is just full of little gems. Here is a view of the wheel chamber from the opposite side. I'm just admiring some stonework there, but this is the wheel chamber from the opposite side. There you go, and you can clearly see now the arch that took the tail race water away. And the water, like I say, wasn't wasted. It ran through there and onto a second wheel that had been built later. I'm going to show you, but it went onto a lower wheel chamber at a lower level and drove a second wheel that was called the Waterloo wheel. Now, it's no coincidence that that wheel was built in 1815. There, you see that there where it goes along there, that's where the axle went that came off the wheel. Must have been massive wheel. Must have been massive. Okay, so just want you to note this channel that we're flying over now. How we're going towards the wheel chamber at the end. Don't forget that wheel chamber contained the Wellington wheel. So I'm going to show you a shot in a minute hovering over the wheel chamber going the opposite way, and I'll explain what that channel was. Okay, wheel chamber just below us, behind us. The channel carried a drive shaft off the water wheel along here, all the way along the length of the mill. And I presume, and I'm no expert, that off that drive shaft, various belt drives were taken and went up to the various floors of the mill to drive machinery. I think this picture here illustrates it. From the bottom of the picture, you can see the water driving the Wellington wheel and then going through the tail race onto the Waterloo wheel, which was built later. And then above the wheel, you've got your drive shafts and your gearing that drove various shafts to all the floors of the mill that carried out all the cotton spinning processes. But that's basically how it worked, and that was taken from one of the signposts at the site, because the site is open to visitors and you can come along and have a look. Well, you can do it for most of the bits. We're going to show you some bits that you probably won't see if you come to this site. There you go, Mellor Mill. I'm sure you've seen this sort of sketch before. Can you imagine the noisy, clattering machinery? No guards on any of the machinery. Look at those open cogs there with the kids in little dresses and frocks working the machinery. All the belt drives coming off the main water wheel. Oily machinery, wooden floors, cotton dust in the air. Fire was a big risk. So if you were one of the kids or the ladies that worked those machines that were lucky enough to have a pair of clogs, you were asked to remove them because clogs had metal on the heels, and if you walked on metal, it could cause sparks and possibly cause a fire. So you had to work barefoot. As well as all the top level stuff that you can come and see if you have a day out here. There's some hidden stuff, hidden tunnels, which is what we love. And I'm going to turn the camera around now and show you one of those tunnels. We initially thought this was a tail race, but I don't think it is. Take a look at this. Right, so we're in. Initially stonework at the entrance, and then about there it turns to brick rather curiously. Let's crack on.
Back in the corner.
Just keep.
You stand up?
No.
Quite nice, isn't it? To walk through.
It's going to be like that.
It's carried water, hasn't it? Because there's this is all silt. I do have a theory as to what this tunnel may have been. So when we come out, just clock where we are, because I'll try and put that theory forward shortly. Just try and remember which tunnel this one is. But it has carried water at some point. We're going to get into a little junction here now.
Yes.
As I suspected, we're coming out here now at the Waterloo wheel chamber. Look at that. So yes, we're in the wheel chamber here. I'm going to try and explain to you now where we are in relation to the rest of the site. The Wellington wheel pit was over there, and the water ran underneath the site, down here to the Waterloo wheel pit, as you can see there. And that's where we are down there, tucked away right at the very bottom of there. If you look closely at those ruins, you can see the square there, which is the outline of the Waterloo wheel pit. And the River Goyt is just beyond there, beyond those trees. Okay, so this is from Google Earth, and there's the outline of the mill, right? It's cut off a bit there, but there's the outline of the mill. Here is the wheel chamber that I've already shown you. This was where the Wellington wheel was, and there's a tail race through an arch. Remember, I showed you a picture of an arch that goes down there, and it comes here. This dark area here is the wheel pit for the Waterloo wheel. We've just come along this tunnel here, all right, and I'm trying to explain what this is about, and we're at this junction of 3 tunnels. So we've walked along here. I'll cut to the chase. We've got the tail race here from the Wellington wheel that's going to take water down here to drive the Waterloo wheel here, right? I think the tunnel we've just walked down, remember I said it seemed to carry water, or there was silt in it. I think they could block off this area here when they wanted to maintain the wheel, and the water would go sloosh that way like that. I think that's what that's for. Now, I don't know. I'm only presenting this as a theory, trying to make sense of it, so you can divert the water that way. But what it mainly did was go there and drive the Waterloo wheel. There's another tunnel here. We're going to go in that shortly. I haven't got a clue what that tunnel is about, so I'm afraid I can't explain. And it's got a strange separate tunnel that's going off this way. You're probably wondering what this dotted line is here. Well, that is the tail race for the Waterloo wheel. The Waterloo wheel sits there, and obviously its water that it had used had to head that way out towards the River Goyt. Now there's a problem down here that I'll tell you about in a bit, but there you go, there's the mill, and that's where we are, and I try to explain where we are and what's going on. We're going to have a brew in a minute right at that point there where you see the arrow there, so when we have a brew you'll know roughly where we are. We're just near to the junction of these tunnels, and the actual mill site is here. Hope that throws some light on it. This tunnel here, haven't got a clue, clueless. But from this little junction of these 3 tunnels, if you come this way, just want to go that way. The water would have run, you see over there, and where the boys are there, this way, and then down here into this wheel chamber. This is the Waterloo wheel chamber. Down at the bottom there, as I pointed out, is a little hole. We think that's the tail race, went down to the Goyt. I'm spitting feathers. Are you spitting feathers?
Spitting feathers.
Yeah.
James?
Yeah.
Brew?
Brew.
Oh yes. James, have you brought food?
Again, I've got it set up.
It's like a chimp's tea party, isn't it? Are you providing refreshments?
Oh yeah.
Don't look at your hair, do in the camera.
Round, let's get
I'm going to surprise you with this, what I've got today.
Really?
Yeah.
Right, well, it was a bit...
Right then.
Oh my god, I don't like cherry bakewells.
Take the cherry off. That's what everyone does.
No, it's the cherry I don't like. Right, okay,
right,
cherry bakewells are alright. What else have you got?
Well,
Oh, as it's Easter,
Cream, eggs.
I'll have to have an orange club.
Oh, it's picky, isn't it?
Don't forget what I taught you, pour from a low level. So we don't lose too much heat.
Have you got a spoon?
Should be enough.
yeah, do a spoon for this.
Spoon, James?
Can't remember everything.
What about that little one that you slapped attached to your crotch?
I give it you and then you lost it.
I'm sorry.
So I had to compromise and have the orange club. What are you having? James is gorging on a cherry bakewell.
Said you could open them.
And you're going to have a cream egg.
Well, it's Easter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Easter, you better have it. Comes for breakfast at the pub. Doesn't have a lot because he's on a diet, and then just gorges on cake all day. Thinks he's had one of his 5 a day because he's had a glacé cherry off the Bakewell tart. You live in a strange world, boy. So we stood right in the wheel chamber here of the Waterloo wheel. See this? It would have spun in here, and I've showed you the curvature there on the wall. The tail race is here. I can see a hole down there. Now apparently here we're below the level of the Goyt, the River Goyt, or maybe just on level. So taking the waterway was a bit of a problem. So apparently what I've read is this tail race goes on, I think for 6,000 feet it says, so many meters, alongside of the Goyt, until the Goyt has sufficiently dropped down a level and then they can empty the water into the Goyt. I see a tunnel. Let's go down there, put the GoPro in and put a light in. Now just before we shine that light into what we think is the tail race for the Waterloo wheel, looks like where I'm standing now in the Waterloo wheelhouse, I would have been undercover. With a slated roof and everything. You can see where the water's coming in from the Wellington wheel, and then we'll take a look now at this what we think is going to be the tail race. Yes, very, very interesting. Let's get a light down here. Massive spider's web. Come look at this.
Is that standing water in the ball?
Looks like it, doesn't it? You see a hole there, huge spider's web.
Really big, isn't it?
Yeah. Killer spiders, home of the killer spiders there. That's the best view we can get. We're not planning to go in there at the moment. Now, do you remember I told you one of the wheels was called the Waterloo wheel? Well, just up there in the rock. Just take a look at this because it's absolutely fantastic. Backfilled again. Ah well, you can but try. A lot of iron staying in there, and unfortunately backfilled. So what was this all about? Very difficult, isn't it, to work out. And that we almost thought we had a side tunnel there, but we haven't. But we're literally kind of exploiting a fault, but we have got a side tunnel. We have got a side tunnel. So we're at the back there, reader. Can't imagine for a second what this is all about. It's very interesting. We didn't expect to be doing this today, did we, James?
No.
Well, what is this about? It seems to be going upwards, so we can't go for. We're not that deep, are we? Right, so there you go. There's Roy. How does it go round up there, Roy?
Yeah, then it's sort of backfilled, but come up and walk up.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'll get this lot. So we've got a bottle there on the floor. Actually, I don't think it's anything Smirnoff.
Oh,
So it's nothing amazing. But we are going upwards.
Oh, it's a shaft.
Oh, you're joking?
Well, it looks in. Hang on, you get in it. Well,
So I'm walking over some rough terrain here.
all right. I reckon it's that sluice shaft maybe. Come and have a look at this.
Sorry, I've got you on that one.
No, I'm alright, I'll pick back on.
So we've opened out now to more of a tunnel. This is all, well, Liam's here, very unexpected. What's up there, Roy?
Shaft. You have to crawl up and come in.
Is it? I don't want to say shaft if it's not impressive.
Crawling up it, and it's tight.
Right.
Past James. Don't put me arse crack.
Just get past James then.
Oh.
Don't get this stonework's mint.
Yes, the stonework's amazing.
Yeah.
And we'll go in a moment, dear reader. So very purpose built this. Obviously you've got stone there. Look at the edge there, we've got an edging. Ah, and Roy says we're at the bottom of the shaft, are we?
Shaft.
Yeah.
Now come in, because you need to film this.
Right, I'll come in now. Oh, we didn't expect to be finding this today.
Wow.
How high is it?
Not that high.
Wow.
You might as well keep it rolling. Don't
Wow.
expect with the torch on or off. Let me turn it off first. See what natural light looks like. Yeah. No, it needs to validate, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That.
So I think I want to say a staircase, but it's not been, has it? It's just been a shaft.
Oh, yeah.
Then that goes out there. Let's have a look out here.
Oh, yeah.
You might have to come back, or we've left the bags.
So there, only you can see what that now.
Oh, come on, we can have a look.
Wow.
Let's see what it is. Yeah, I think you should get it in there. I'll put down the bash of the
So what's that thing you do when you go past a piece of
I
stick?
can't look at what's on these walls.
There.
I can't look at these walls because I'm meeting spiders here. Carry on. Lights down.
Spiders galore.
Well, that was interesting. So all the machinery in the mill was mainly operated by women and children. And children were brought in from all around, from as far away as Clerkenwell in London. They were called parish apprentices. And Samuel Oldknow sent out the call, we need more children for the mill. Yeah, more children to work in the mill. So there must have been, you know, lots of parishes around that they said, yep, we'll provide kids, obviously, possibly for a fee. And the children came up here from all around and worked on the factory floor. The men did sort of like more of the maintenance work. Imagine there was a lot of work here in the tunnels and for the wheels and everything and all the machinery. That's what the men did. But predominantly women and children. Now Oldknow was seen as quite a benevolent employer at the time. And it also looks like the mill occasionally fell on hard times. Oldknow paid the workers with paper money that could only be exchanged for goods at his shop. And when cash was short, he'd pay them in food. Truck money. Never heard of that one before. Okay, so from our 3-tunnel junction, the only tunnel we haven't yet explored is the Blue Line, which is the tail race from the Wellington wheel down to the Waterloo wheel. It's this tunnel here. You remember the original wheel pit we looked into? So we're going to approach that tunnel from the other side, from the Waterloo wheel chamber side. So the going is tough. It's very muddy and it's very waterlogged. Must have carried a hell of a lot of water at one time, as you would expect. And the going is so tough and so sinky and so muddy, we have to send Roy. Roy knows not liking mud.
It's
It's not good, is it?
It's alright, it's manageable, right. It flattens out here.
Is it?
Yeah. What there?
Did an accident?
Put this side.
Shit.
Oh, crap.
No, it's not. It's going in there. Going in there.
Well, I take the GoPro.
You take the GoPro and investigate.
Stuck.
Oh, I thought it was wet.
Well,
Might not be a good idea.
nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Now, as he struggles forward, and he is struggling, it's looking like there's a collapse there. And then beyond the daylight, you can see beyond is the wheel chamber. You know, what I just showed you. But definitely looks like a collapse.
Oh. Collapsed. Wow. And then deep there. Water.
Is it?
Standing water. Right, for safety reasons we won't go through this next bit, although we could. Behind me's collapsed. That's some festering silt. On the other end is a wheel pit.
Back over to the main mill site now, and I want to show you this far end of the site where the brickwork is covered over and all the tyres are holding the covers down. Apparently the brickwork is very fragile and the volunteers are keeping it protected. But what was this area? The mill was initially water powered. However, at 1860 there'd been a drought and it forced them to move to steam. They must have been losing money. This is where the 30-foot Lancashire boilers were placed here. Now, about that time, 1860, a lot of places were now moving to steam and away from water power. I know Wet Earth Colliery in 1860 started employing water turbines rather than a water wheel. So technology was moving on. So yes, steam was coming in. However, I think for a long time it still carried on with the water power. I think these were probably supplemental, but it carried on with the water power because it said almost to the end of its life this mill was using water wheels because they were so successful and they just worked. Now, as you know, our Mr. Oldknow, you will know that his main pursuit in life was to be seen and to live the life of a country gentleman. However, things were sort of impinging on that down at the mill. He didn't like what was going on. A lot of swearing and drunkenness, so this sign was put up. The horrid and impious vice of profane cursing and swearing and habits of losing time and drunkenness are become so frequent and notorious that unless speedily checked, they may justly provoke the divine vengeance to increase the calamities these nations now labour under. Anyway, it goes on to say that if you swear or you curse, you can lose up to a shilling. Now, I reckon that was quite a lot of money back in the day. Certainly when this sign, if you look at the bottom there, it says Mellor Mill. I think it says 1st of December 1797. I think a shilling was a lot of money back then. Now, although the actual structure of the mill has gone, the place is still a little rabbit warren, as you've seen, and we have to thank the volunteers that came along here and dug the place out, tons and tons of rubbish, and exposed what we can see today. Anyway, just when you thought that we've seen everything, I've got some more to show you, some intriguing tunnels. Just come and take a look at this. Now, curiously, there's a set of steps that go down into this wheel chamber. Follow me. Run, Roy, run. These are the bits you wouldn't normally see. Look at this. Get right in there and take a look at that. Some working mechanism there. Another tunnel there. Look at this. Look at that. Another tunnel here. On this side. Okay. That goes through, we think, to the main part of the mill and the other wheel chamber. The whole place is a maze of little tunnels and waterways and workings. It's absolutely, what you see on the surface is only part of it. It's a hidden gem. So we're going to go and take a look at this thing that I just showed you. Beautiful egg shape. Dry stone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Incredible. So dry stone, we'll see where this goes. The thing is, you sort of think to yourself, well, this can't go far, because it's not as if they disappear off into the hills, is it? You can only go over to the mill, but looks like it goes on a bit. Let's see where it goes.
Still rolling anyway. Yeah, let me try and line from behind a bit. Wow.
Wow. Wow indeed. This is incredible. The little footprints down there, look at that. This is incredible. And like I say, all dry stone.
Does it go?
With a collapse there. Oh, bit dusty. Ah, oh my god, a side tunnel. Right.
Bloody hell, that goes at a fair distance.
Not sure where that goes. It's got. Usually they don't go far, these tunnels, but very, very interesting. That goes a fair way, and then we're back here to daylight here. So that's the end of that one. Second tunnel. As you can see, this one's got like a channel on it. Weirdly. Bloody hell. And on it goes. Very interesting construction, stepped. Now I've read about maintenance tunnels, so this could be one of those. Bit dodgy to walking in this sort of channel here. Well, opens up a bit here into brick. And then we're back out again. So where are we? Where are we? We're going to have to follow this all the way out this time, see where we come out. Oh my god. And another one. Look at that. Another one. Let's just see where this comes out. I'm going to go outside here, just see where it comes to. Ah, so we're not far from the actual workings of the mill over there. Okay, so what became of Mellor Mill? Why are we only looking at ruins and remains? Well, November 1892, there was a huge fire. Was there? There was a massive fire. And I think the floors were wooden. And of course all that cotton, all that oil and machinery. Massive fire. It was discovered at 2 o'clock in the morning, so by then it had took hold, it hadn't been noticed. I'll read you a piece, that, a really good piece that describes the fire for you. Now bearing in mind that the fire wasn't discovered till 2 AM, so it had well taken hold by this point. The Cheshire County News reports, immense tongues of fire were belching from the windows. The building was encircled with a halo of crimson light, but still the fire fiend raged. A message was dispatched to Marple and Compstall Fire Brigade, but they arrived too late to be of any practical service. One by one the floors fell in with a deafening crash, and the machinery clanged together like the roar of artillery. Then the roof collapsed with a thunderous smash amidst the shrieks of bystanders, for all the village was now awake. Many of the mill walls eventually collapsed, and it stood for a long time a ghostly shell of what it used to be. Locals also took the stone away and reused it in various projects, and then in the 1950s what remained of the mill was demolished and the site that we see was left, or had to be uncovered eventually by a team of volunteers. In 2009 that work began. What became of Samuel Oldknow? Well, despite his wealth, he borrowed huge sums from cotton magnates the Arkwrights and ended his days in Mellor Lodge in their debt. His portrait, by Joseph Wright, cost 50 guineas, and Oldknow had to pay for it in instalments, and he may not have eventually settled the account anyway. Anyway, from Edna, Roy, Liam, I think Liam's in shot, I'm not sure. Thanks very much for watching, and from the River Goyt and Marple, take care, see you in the next video, bye for now.
See you in a bit.
Bye.
If I go with
I'm
that,
not alright, because you're Coco the Clown putting your wet hair on my head.
if it falls, it's alright.
Wet hand on my head, rather.
I could probably sit on it.
I'm trying to set up the perfect shot here, it's taking forever.
I've got a throne here. innit?
It's been like bringing Edna, the 85-year-old. No disrespect to Edna.
Come on.
I'm not sure.
No.
You've been like an old woman. Everything we ask you to do, slow. Trying to pose for pictures and you're slow, you're going the wrong way, whoops. Right, so remember that opening scene, all they had to say was, as per usual, was, my name's James, and this week we're in Marple, which turned into, what?
My name's James and we're in Marple.
Marple. You know all about this, don't you?
Yeah, I've learned it.
So I have to leave in a minute. I think you've left something, by the way.
Oh, yeah, you have to.
You have to go on a vlog. I just saw something down there. Might be a bag or something. Don't know.
What bag?
He's down there.
Is it a green Asda bag? I think it's a green.
My bag down there.
Green
Yeah.
bag. I don't need the bag.
Is my bag down there?
Yeah.
Wait, it is? Oh, it's on my back, you know.
You know what he does?
Today we've come to film James on his mobile phone.
Yeah, James is on his mobile. He's not here, he's on his mobile.
Do you know what he does though? He'll go on his phone for 10 minutes, come off it, and then I'll be on it. He'll be like, come on, phone free!
Yeah, but because
I'll
I'm
be-
on it
yeah.
for seconds.
Oh god. Remember this being back.
What's that, James?
Wild garlic.
What are you going to do with that?
Put it in a spag bowl.
Put it on his pizza.
The wild garlic. That's not garlic, that's just weed. That's just weed.
Smells like weed.
That is never garlic. You sure? Eat it. Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I've been running. I'm on the calorie control diet. I'm losing weight. You, mobility scooter. Right, are you filming?
Yes.
Right. 1790, work commenced. Oh. He's gathering his
Weed.
who will buy my wonderful garlic? You're going to sell that down later on.
He's thrown more away than he's picked, hasn't he?
Who wears shoes like this?
What are those?
What are those? You balloon. That's a nice sweatshirt. Isn't it?
Yeah.